Welcome back to WGAL's Harrisburg Mayoral Debate live from Harrisburg University. So before the break, we asked the candidates what they would do to cut down on violence, to protect our youth, and address public safety. We now want to turn our attention to another important topic, and that's the economy.
Well, the cloud of Act 47 and Harrisburg being declared financially distressed, that's been looming over the city for years now. There are still a lot of big challenges as well for Harrisburg, including flagging property tax revenue. Candidates, what do you intend to do to try to get Harrisburg on stronger financial footing, as well as dealing with that Act 47 designation? We're going to start with City Treasurer Dan Miller. Dan?
You know, I'm really glad that you're moving on from safety. I know there are problems in Harrisburg, but I think Harrisburg gets a really bad rap. I've just door knocked all over the city. I never once felt in danger, and I think the citizens of Harrisburg feel the same as I do. So anyway, I just wanted to say, let's move on to something positive, because there is so much positive about Harrisburg. And yes, we do have a little bit of a problem right now in downtown Harrisburg because the state workers are no longer there, but that doesn't mean we can't turn it around. We have to take some of those commercial buildings and change them into residential. We need mixed-use development. We need to have more pedestrian-friendly designs to encourage people to come down and want to be down in the city. And we need to work with CREDC, with the Chamber of Commerce, with the business owners to figure out how to get more business and more traffic downtown, because it's a great place. We've got a beautiful river, and I see I'm out of time, but there's so much more I could talk about because we have a lot of positive reaction in downtown Harrisburg.
Dan, thank you. We're going to move on to Lewis. Lewis?
Well, our river is not only beautiful, but it's very powerful. So if that's one of the things that we have that we can harness. If we harness the Susquehanna River, we used to have the incinerator. That's not ours anymore. We used to have the parking, and that's tanked. So it's important that we get some engine that keeps on running, that never stops. Voith Hydro in New York has these new turbines that they came out with that's low head turbines. If we place them on the river, the Conrail Cumberland County Bridge, we can actually produce over $270 million annually just off the river running. That's a lot of money. It would eliminate our power bills, and we'll be ready for AI. And that's what we need. We need another powerful engine to create revenue. Also, we need a theme. Just like Lancaster, New York, and those other towns, we need a theme. Gettysburg, we're
Lewis,
Civil War. We're Civil War.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Councilman Lamont Jones.
Yeah, again, you know, people would tout that the city's out of debt. We're not completely out of debt. You know, there's always been a financial plan there through the ICA when it came into Act 47. There's always been a plan there. I just don't think these administrations have even looked at it. So coupled with the 5-year plan that the ICA has, I'm also looking to tap into the arts. This is the world's best kept secret in the city of Harrisburg. The last movie that was made here was in 1984, Distinguished Gentleman. We have a lot of talent here. We have a lot of artistry here, and none of that is being tapped into. We're underutilizing City Island. The 2nd Street is also being underutilized. These are some of the things that we can invest right here into our own people, and this will attract people to come to the city of Harrisburg and would love to spend money and see these things, these beautiful things in history that we have in the city of Harrisburg. So that would be part of my plan, not only the vision that I have for the city, but also actually utilizing a plan that's already been in place that no one seems to use.
Councilman Jones, thank you. Tone?
Yes, to stimulate economic growth, I will introduce a small business plan, a grant program to support local entrepreneurs, particularly in underserved areas, by streamlining the permitting process and offering tax incentives. But on top of that, Ms. Mayor Wanda Williams, I believe, has a lot of experience in that area. I believe that Dan Miller has a lot of experience with being the treasurer. And I believe that Mr. Lewis Butts has great ideas, and as Lamont Jones in City Council, we can achieve a lot. So I intend to bring on more ideas, but also bring them in words though they can be of some help, because as I stated before, I do not know it all, but I am willing to get the job done and be stern about getting the job done and having a strong and powerful team beside me to get the job done by bringing in new ideas. Because it seems to me that, and honestly, it seems to me that a lot of the old is not working. we're trying to change. We're pushing for a change. So we need to bring it all together and create new ideas, but also get with younger generations as well.
Tone, thank you. We're going to move on to Mayor Wanda Williams. Mayor, what
Yes.
would you do in a second term?
What I'm going to do in the second term, what I'm already doing, okay? I've already done that. And Mr. Jones said about the debt is not done. The debt is done, $630 million. He was never here. He wasn't in any of the meetings. He didn't sign any of the papers, so he doesn't know. So he needs to understand what happened before he speaks about that. And as I'm standing here, we've twice given the downtown business owners, we've given them money to try to regroup. But since 2019, they haven't been able to do that, and some have already left. So what we're doing is we set up a economic development task force, and we have met with CREDIC, and we have met with the Chamber of Commerce. They don't know because they're not mayors, and they don't know what I'm doing. All they're assuming, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. We are doing things. Right now, we're in the middle of discussion with 2 restaurant owners who's coming into the city of Harrisburg, 2 developers who's coming into the city of Harrisburg.
Mayor, thank you. You mentioned Councilman Jones. Councilman, you have a 30-second response.
Yeah, I think, again, this is part of the problem that we have. Just because I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm reading. I am city council, so I do have access to a lot of information that has happened here in the city of Harrisburg, not just in her administration, but throughout the history of the city of Harrisburg. But this seems to be the problem. You know, all I'm doing is stating my facts and what I know and what I'm planning to do. This is not about arguing. This is why our city's not moving right now. And I'm the only one up here that has the support of city council, which tells our community we will be able to get things done.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. So recently, several businesses have closed in downtown Harrisburg, either citing a lack of foot traffic or a rise in telework. Now, we will acknowledge that there have been some reopenings, but what's your plan if you're elected to attract people to the city, especially if you can't rely on state workers or office workers to come in if that's not a viable strategy? Lewis, we're going to start with you. 60 seconds.
Well, I like the Harrisburg International Aquarium. The Harrisburg International Aquarium will have the largest number of sharks in the world. And we'll also have an opportunity to cure cancer in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So we need some things that bring a positive light to Harrisburg. Not only would it challenge and compete against Hershey, but Hershey doesn't have an aquarium. We would take all that winter money that Hershey would bring, that Hershey has in the summer, and we would get that throughout the year. It's very important that we look how an aquarium helps our education system. It brings doctors, scientists from all over the world right here to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And then we can attract the people that we need in a more intellectual way.
All right, thank you. Lamont, go ahead. What would you do to attract people to the city?
Again, this is something I've been talking about over and over every time we do these forums. The city hasn't been marketed. We need to market our city. What are we going to market? There are nice small restaurants. We have the Millworks. We have so many different things in the city of Harrisburg. We have a Channel 20 that's underutilized. You know, I won't step into this office and use it for personal gain. We have to highlight the great things that we already do have, and that will attract people here. Again, tapping into the arts. We have so many talents. We have a film commission. We have so many things that are going on in the city of Harrisburg, but they're not getting the support. And that's something that I would look to do to help stimulate our economy and revitalize the downtown area. It's that simple for me.
All right, thank you. Tone, go ahead. 60 seconds.
Yes. What I would do is, again, it's about change, bringing in new ideas. And what I have been doing is, without being in any type of position, what I have been doing is contacting local DJs and promoters such as Mark Perry, Mark Madden. They're known to bring in people from different states, from all over. So what they're promoting downtown, wherever they are in the city of Harrisburg, they have a big track record of great big following. So what I will do is get the business owners as well. And what I know that I'm great at doing is bringing people together. And I can use an example of some things that I already do without being in any type of position as far as elected official. What I do is, like, for example, Father's Day cookouts. We bring in over 1,000 people, no acts of violence. So these are some of the things that I would like to do, bring different people in, bring them together and connect it. If we could connect the dots that's missing and get everybody's idea rather than just going off of my plan, it's about us. If we could bring it together, then we'll move forward with bringing it back to Harrisburg.
Thank you. And Mayor, your turn.
Yes.
How would you attract people to the city?
Well, first of all, I think I just answered that before when I told you about, the city giving money to the downtown business owners twice. We've given them $10,000 apiece twice to try to their businesses. And I heard Mr. Jones say something about, where we need to look at looking for city council a commitment for them to try to collaborate with them. First of all, you can't collaborate with someone who doesn't want to do anything and collaborate with you. I open my office each and every day. I open my office on Friday for that point. And for this business, we're looking to work with all those departments and not only with DC&D, but the governor will give us the necessary people that we need to try to revitalize that. And that's what we're doing. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know that we're meeting on a daily basis. He doesn't know what we're doing. He's just assuming that we're not doing anything, but we are doing something. You have to be in this seat to know what's going on.
And Lamont, you have 30 seconds to respond to that.
I would just yield my time. I'm fine. Again, this is part of the problem. Nobody wants to meet with each other. Instead of pointing fingers, we need to be having solutions, and that's all I'll say.
And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm telling the truth. And as you said, facts.
Tone, what did you say to the mayor?
Oh, I said that, I wonder, I was mentioning about, it's often being thrown around. It's a problem between city council, and we clearly see it. But I think we should take a look at the root and cause of the problem. When has this problem begun?
When he became councilman.
When we figure that out, we will understand what we should do moving forward and how city council and the mayor should work together.
All right, thank you.
That's what I was mentioning.
And Treasurer Dan, how do you plan to attract people to the city?
Well, as I mentioned, we are going to have some very big, large buildings that are going to be empty very soon, and within 6 months. And we need to convert those buildings from office buildings into residential units. That would bring people downtown because they're going to be living here. And there's a lot of that. The other thing is I've traveled extensively throughout the world, and in almost every city, you've got a pedestrian-free or a pedestrian-only zone. And that's where the restaurants are. That's where the entertainment is. That's where people congregate. We need to do something like that in Harrisburg, and we need to incorporate it with our river because, honestly, we have probably one of the most beautiful cities next to a beautiful river in the world. It's hard to compare that, and we're just not using it in the best light right now.
Thank you.
All right, Dan, thank you. Moving on to helping the unhoused population here in the city. Harrisburg has an unhoused population that really is sort of on the brink, especially with the I-83 Southbridge construction coming up. And for those who are also faced with a lack of affordable housing, there are a lot of difficulties as well. In 60 seconds, what would your administration do to increase access to resources for those struggling to put a reliable roof above their head as well as find some affordable housing? We're going to start with Councilman Jones.
So one of the things we were able to introduce at council in 24 was, the character-based lending organizations. You have to couple that, and you also have to fund the redevelopment authority. They have no budget that they're working with. They're touting about tearing down a lot of properties. Now you're making lots. Nobody's coming in to build at market rate. The prices are too high. So we have to look for other ways that we're going to be able to build not only affordable housing, and then we also have to have people turning renters into homeowners. That's one of the ways that that's one of the things that we have to look at as well. And when it comes to the unhoused population, we have to get to the core issue of what's causing the homelessness. They are a little town. They are a city. They call it tent city. So they are a population. They are no different than us. They just aren't, they don't have housing. So we have to get to the core issues and try to get some more services, mental health services, drug and alcohol services, and work with those individuals to help them get back on their feet.
Councilman, thank you. Tone, what would you do to help some of the more vulnerable people in our population here?
Again, I would get with my administration, the team that's built around me, and we would come to some conclusion where as though we could figure it out where everything is going to be more beneficial to the people, the citizens, rather than be more harmful overall. So I will always refer it back to a team. So I don't want to never speak on something that I'm not sure about. So I will refer it back to my team, and I will be working, like I said, with any of these very well-educated brothers and sisters up here to move forward and build Harrisburg up the way that we would want it to be.
Tone, thank you. Mayor, your administration has been in some ways addressing this issue and dealing with this issue. What would a second term bring as far as your approach?
Well, when it comes to the Harrisburg Redevelopment Authority giving out lots, let me just reassure you that those lots do turn into development. And a prime example is 6 in Emerald Street. That was a lot. All 3 lots, and Mr. Shady McCoy made 3 different developments, which caused us to have about 52 townhouse homes. And also, when you look at Mr. George Fernandez, that was a lot. And he turned that into 48 apartments. And then I can go on and on and on. But we do have developers out here who buy the lots and are interested in building affordable homes. I have 250 homes up already, as well as a senior citizen building, apartment building coming up here. So we are addressing the affordable housing issue, but you also have to address the veterans. We have 3 different veterans buildings that's come up, and they were empty lots. So you see what we do with empty lots, because he said we don't do anything, we are doing something with empty lots. And one more thing, Downtown Improvement District does market the city of Harrisburg, and Hershey-Harrisburg as well.
Mayor,
Thank
thank you. Treasurer Miller, what would you do on this particular issue?
Well, actually, I think you got 2 issues here, but I'm going to start with the housing issue. And the answer to affordable housing is more housing. I know it sounds simple, and it's not just affordable housing. We need to build housing for every level of every person in Harrisburg, because people live at all different levels. We need it in every area. And the thing I've been talking with the developers is that they come to the city and it's a roadblock. They are having a lot of difficulty getting past city administration to get their projects going. And so they want change at the top so we can make some changes and allow this kind of development to occur. As far as the homeless issue or the unhoused issue, I mean, you know, that's a huge issue. You're dealing with drug addiction, you're dealing with poverty, you're dealing with mental illness. So there's so many things that have to occur, and all of those solutions are going to be at the root cause. And we'll need to collaborate with the state, with the county, with other churches and organizations to try to see what we can do in the best manner possible.
Dan, thank you. Lewis, what would you do about affordable housing as well as helping the unhoused?
I want to say thank you to Dan again for giving me a good segue. My idea about container homes to help infill some of the lots that we have all around the city of Harrisburg. Now, container homes has taken their own development and their own design. I think we can make some headway if we look at that type of development. And we can actually have a producer, a manufacturer right here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to do some of that construction, because that's all we have are containers here in Harrisburg. We have one of the largest rail systems throughout in the whole United States. So it's vital. Our rail system is another theme that we use to win the Civil War. That is another marketing agent. Housing, container houses, and make sure that we have a census so we know the ills of each and every resident so we can service them properly.
Lewis, thank you. Obviously, all of you have been part of this Harrisburg community for many years now, but going forward, only one of you is going to win this primary election. And our question to you is, will you work with whomever wins the mayoral race all the way to the end? And what will you do to support them? Or do you have a different approach following the election? Tone, we're going to start with you. What do you do after the primary?
Leading up until the primary, I've been working with them. I get out there and I walk with CSAs. I walk with GVI. I do that already. I connect people's families together. So moving forward, of course, I will be willing to work with anyone that I know has shown with the right intent to only want what's best for the city and the people of the city. I will it's only right that I will work with them. That's what I stand for. That's what I've been doing. And again, that's what I'm known for, the street mayor, because I bring things together. I bring people together without holding any type of, elected, any position. I bring people together and I work with people and I try to help others connect with others if they don't know something that they work with them. So that's a part of the thing that I've been doing, and I'm willing to work with anyone moving forward as long as it's shown that they have the right intent.
Tone, thank you. Mayor, you're not the nominee. Will you work with the next mayor?
I've always worked with the mayors. It's just everyone has to work with you, and they haven't been willing to work with me. You have a public safety chair that doesn't work with me or the police department. And I understand what Tone was saying. Tone has been out there with walking with the CSAs. I will make sure that I continue to do my job until December 31st of this year, as I've done. And I want to come back with the homeless. We do have a plan. I'm working with the governor's office and the county. We meet every month to address what we need to do with the homeless. So we are addressing that issue. And we do have mental health counselors, and we do have people who are out each and every day, outreach workers who work with the homeless. But I will work with anyone. I never not wanted to work with anyone. I opened my office to work with anyone. I've been an advocate for 25 years. There's people up here who haven't even been in the city. Where were you when I needed your help before I was the mayor? And I was out here advocating. That's my question to all of my candidates here.
Mayor, briefly, your predecessor ran a write-in campaign after losing to you in the
Yes.
primary 4 years ago.
Yes.
Will you ponder that if you choosing that same course of action if you're not the nominee?
Well, I said I would, but it depends on who the candidate is.
Mayor,
So
thank
just
you.
a clarification, are you implying that you may run as a write-in candidate or independent candidate depending on?
Who the candidate who wins. Yes, I will.
Thank
Mayor,
you.
thank you.
Because they haven't been here 20 years. They've not been here. They have not been involved in the community. I've been active for 25 years. But where have they been? I haven't seen them at one event, city event. I went to 340 events, all cultures. Where were they? When there are fires, where are they?
Mayor, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dan,
we
if you are
respond?
not the nominee, are you going to work? Obviously, you'll still be city treasurer, but are you going to work with the nominee as best you can?
I sort of feel like I'm already working on that premise. As a matter of fact, most of us up here get along very well. And as I go door knocking, I'm learning and meeting a lot of smart people. And I've already making lists of how they might want to work with us on committees and people are giving me lots of ideas. And I want to maybe implement those ideas. So yes, of course. I know as far as if I were to win, I mean, I'd be going to Lancaster that next week and talking with those folks down there in the camera project that they have. So I think that, yeah, I'm going to be working with everyone. That's what we've got to do. There's a lot of talent out there in Harrisburg, and I'd like to get some fresh faces. You know, often it's the same people that know each other, and those are the ones on the committees. But there's a lot of good ideas out there. There's a lot of good people, and they want to be heard.
Dan, thank you. Lewis, if you're not the nominee, will you support the person who is?
Oh, I think I'm going for the nominee. I want to collect all the different council people that don't make it, as well as people up here that don't cross the line. I want to bring them all on one team because those are the most committed people in our communities. I'm not going to let them fall to the wayside. I'm going to grab their energy, and we're going to be one team, and we will work together because my demeanor, the way I function, the way I talk to people is a little bit different. And I think I can be a great spokesperson for the city of Harrisburg. And there was one point, and when I was growing up, that we had a phrase, you have a friend in Pennsylvania. It was a long time ago. But I want to bring that back. You have a friend in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much. And it's Lewis Butts, number 3.
Lewis, thank you. Councilman, even if you're not the nominee, you'll still be a councilman.
Absolutely.
So will you support the nominee should they win this primary, and what might you do if that happens?
As you said, I still will be a council member, and I still will hold true to what I sworn to do for the people of this city, and that is hold people accountable. You know, I'm not here to fight. I know we may not always agree. You know, all of these people seem that they have passion for our city, and that's fine. But again, when something comes across my desk, my first question, and number one question is how does this benefit the residents of the city? And if it doesn't, I'm just one of 7. It's a whole body. My vote doesn't make or break a deal. You know, so yes, I'm willing to work with anyone. And hopefully, it's a brand new sheet of paper. You know, once all of this dies down and all the emotions die down and the tempers die down, we got to get back to work because the city is what's at hand right now and the people living in it. That's what's most important. So I don't have any problem working with anybody, long as the things that we are seeing is beneficial to the people of this city.
All right, and that actually brings us to closing statements. We're going to start with Councilman Lamont Jones. You have 60 seconds.
Yes, Harrisburg, again, as I said in the beginning, we are at a crossroads. There's been a lot of things said. There's a lot of things that's been going on with this election. But I am the sincere person. We can't repeat history. Please do not repeat history. There are people that had an opportunity to serve our city. Look at the state of our city today. It is time, Harrisburg, for a new vision, for a new voice and a new direction. And it starts with my administration. And you can go to my website at lamontjonesformayor.com where you can see an actual plan, economic plan, and our housing plan, not any just bullet points. You can go straight to that and see it. So remember, May 20th, if this is your first time voting, make sure this is your civic duty. All politics are local. Number 4 on the ballot, it's only one candidate, Lamont Jones for mayor, May 20th.
Community activist Tone Cook, your closing statement, 60 seconds.
Yes, City of Harrisburg, I ask that you make the best decision. Whatever decision that you make, I feel as though that you have decided to make, that's your best decision. However, I think we need to take a look into everything that's been going on in our communities, take a look into all of the problems that occurred. And I mentioned before, there's been a big problem inside of our communities, and the work hasn't stopped. The work has been going on and will continue to go on, even if I am not elected as your next mayor for the city of Harrisburg, but I believe I will be, because I bring change, and that's what we need is change. And that's entering the race. I have given you that. We have given you that. We've shown numbers. I can't take all credit. Everybody has something, but since I entered the race, there's been 500 new voters registered that never voted a day in their life. We are tired of the same plans that we may have. We are tired of saying that we have a great plan. What it is action. I've been doing action without holding a position. So if you want to vote for me, number 1, Tone Cook on the ballot.
Thank you. Mayor Wanda Williams, your closing statement.
Thank you, you're right. We don't want to go back and repeat what we've done 20 years ago. But we have people who are backing those individuals as we stand here right now who want to get back into the city, who will make the city go back into a debt. And right now, Harrisburg, you did for 4 years ago, you wanted a change. I brought a change. Your other 3 mayors before me did not do a change at all. I brought you new homes. I brought you new streets that are paved. I brought you new 2nd Street, 2-way for safety. I brought you the Senators Baseball Stadium that the MLB was going to get rid of. I brought you everything, a balanced budget. I've already proven what I can do for you, I'm sorry. I bought you the things that you were looking for the last 10 or 20 years. And I'm saying to you, Harrisburg, I made those changes. Now, those candidates here, they don't have the knowledge, and they don't have the experience, and they don't know what the everyday issues are. I do, and I address them, and without the staff for 3 or 4 months, I did it by myself. So, Wanda Williams, number 5 on the ballot. Please vote for me again.
Treasurer Dan Miller, your closing statement, 60 seconds.
Yes, I've been involved in city government for almost 20 years as controller, treasurer, as council. And it's really heartbreaking because I have seen just mismanagement, waste, incompetence, missed opportunities. It's horrendous, and that's the reason I'm running, because I'm a frustrated business person, and I see this, and I know Harrisburg can do so much better. And as I've said, I'm by far the most qualified candidate in this race. I have years of experience, knowledge, and skills that no one else in this has. And I'd just like to say, if you want to get real information about Dan Miller, go to my website, friendsofdanmiller.com. That's where everything is, my plans are. And then in addition, go to PCN TV and watch the half-hour interview. We all interviewed for 1.5 hours with on that show, on YouTube, because it really is an in-depth interview that shows who we are.
And Community Member Louis Butts, you have 60 seconds, your closing statement.
Thank you. Harrisburg, we need a new day. We need a new fresh air, a breath of fresh air. I am that breath of fresh air. Let's look at the past. Let's look at our history. Let's find out together what made Harrisburg and what makes Harrisburg what it is. We won the Civil War, and in our personality as Harrisburgonians, we are able to bring humanities to another level. I was born and raised in Harrisburg. I know the history of Harrisburg. I put the Camp Curtin Church on the National Registry. It takes God to move this city forward. So let's look at who and what we are and be human to each other, kind, and let's learn and let's walk this road together. And we can do that under my administration. Let's be strong and let's be sturdy. In Jesus' name.
And that wraps things up. Thank you so much for watching WGAL's Harrisburg mayoral debate live from Harrisburg University. Really appreciate your time. Candidates, thank you so much for being here again.
Thank you for the invite.
And as far as incompetent, is
Well,
nobody
thank you,
incompetent?
candidates. Our Commitment 2025 coverage continuing tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Our conversations with the candidates in the Lancaster mayoral race. We will see you again for News 8 at 10 and 11. Until then, have a great night.